Hey, this is Brett Scallions. You've got to tune in right here with the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Brett Scallions, formerly of Fuel and Circus Diablo.
Yeah, and now in a new band/project called Radiobot.
Yeah.
They have a video out covering the Bob Dylan classic Subterranean Home Sick Blues. They'll be releasing a new single, The World's on Fire, December 8th. So great interview. Let's get right to it.
All right, good night.
Good night.
As 2023 is coming to a close, we've had a fantastic year here on the Nothing Shocking podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the variety of episodes we've shared with you. Wishing everyone a happy holidays and blessings in the new year. Stay tuned at the end of this episode for a song from the band Star Crystal. Star Crystal is an 80s glam metal band formed in the Ukraine in 2012. The band has 2 albums, Follow Me and Revival of Glam. They've been touring Europe. You can find more information on Star Crystal on their website, social media, or wherever you stream music.
Brett, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Brett, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, pleasure. Thanks, guys.
We are so excited to have you. So, little story is that we've been doing this podcast for about 6 years, and about 3 years ago. Yeah, thank you. But trying to get you on, trying to find a contact information from you for about the last 3 years. So finally, came across your publicist does a lot of work with us. So we're like, thank God we finally got him on the podcast.
Perfect. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Fantastic. So wait, back in 2016, Billy Harvey, Eddie Wohl, and yourself got together to write some new music. Was now known as Radiobot. Can you talk a little bit more about how you three musicians got together to create this new endeavor?
You know, it's been very organic and sporadic at times too. You know, because the three of us very much have had other things going on over the course of our relationship and building this body of music. And you know, we got together like in 2016, and Billy and I had just meeting for the first time, and Eddie and Billy and I sat in a room and we wrote 3 songs, and it just kind of poured out really quickly and easily, and we were digging what we were doing, but you know, life kind of got in the way, and we had to get away from each other and go do other things. I was doing Fuel at the time, and Billy had a number of different things he was doing, and Eddie was constantly in the studio. But then, you know, next thing you knew, in 2020, we all were forced to stop, you know?
Yes.
And And we were all just kind of sitting there, and March and April and May rolled around, and then finally we reached out to each other and we were like, let's do something. Let's finish what we started. So, Billy was in Nashville and Eddie and I were in LA. So Eddie was like, I'm comfortable with you coming to my house if you want to. We're in the height of COVID and everything, know. So we were finally all just getting to the point where we're like, I can't stay in this house anymore. I'm cooped up and bored out of my mind. So we just decided, you know what, let's merge our circles. And I started going to his house, and we were doing FaceTimes with Billy and literally writing 2 or 3 songs a day and just accumulating the catalog for this thing. And so, one thing we said is never let somebody tell you that you have to be in a room together to write a record, because we just proved that to be wrong. So.
Oh, very good.
Well, your first single, Subterranean Home Sick Blues, can you talk a little bit about the Herculean task of doing a Dylan classic?
It wasn't supposed to be that in the beginning. It's funny because we were just writing a song, and it's one of those particular songs to where you're coming up with the riff and everything, and the song, the groove and the idea of the song. And before you even get into lyrics and vocal melodies and stuff like that. And I think Eddie said something like, let's do a cool, like, Bob Dylan kind of rap thing over it. But, it's not rap, but it's like Bob Dylan, Subterranean Home Sick Blues kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, well, why don't we just do Subterranean Home Sick Blues? So I downloaded the lyrics for it and jumped in the vocal booth and just kind of went over the top of the music that we had just done, and it worked perfect. And I was like, well, there you go. That solves that problem.
Well, whenever we see artists from other sectors join forces, fans and critics are quick to label it as a supergroup. Are you comfortable with Radiobot being labeled as a supergroup, possibly?
I think this is just 3 guys that have accomplished, have a lot of really proud achievements in our lives, and we love being musicians, and and it's fun to kind of step out of our own boxes. Like this is kind of a project of music that I'm not really known for. We're really tapping into the country and the blues side of things, in which I'm absolutely loving. And, but I'm more known as like the modern rock or alternative type of guy. Yeah. And so it's fun for people like Billy and myself, and Eddie and I have worked so many times together over the years, but it's fun to to branch out and do different things. And this one's very different for me. So I'm really excited about the 3 of us merging together and becoming just a fun writing group.
Well, as you say that, you say that, you're from the alternative world or progressive world of music, opposed to kind of coming down into the blues end of things that you are. What kind of challenges does that give you and the rest of the band when that's maybe not your origins, I guess? Am I making sense by saying that?
No, I guess, but I could see how you would think there'd be challenges, but honestly, it's just there were no challenges when it comes to Radiobot, because I mean the biggest challenges were, I guess, just coming up with the lyrical content that we wanted to talk about in the songs. It wasn't about so much trying to figure out who we wanted to be or anything. We were just kind of writing together and it very, very organic. No one's trying to sway anyone in a certain direction or anything. We're just kind of holding onto the wheel and seeing where the car takes us, so.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your vocal chops. Do you do anything to keep your vocals fresh? Do you do any kind of outside warm ups?
Yeah, I've had vocal coaches over the years, and I keep recordings that of sessions that I've done with them. I keep them on my phone, and I use them from time to time when I'm driving, or if I've got a quiet house or alone and I just need to go through my exercises, I do that and things like that. Just try to live a healthy lifestyle, and it's a muscle, so you got to keep using it. So there's times where you don't use it and you start to feel it, so you've got to get back into the gym, so to speak.
Oh, very good. How do you view yourself when it comes to artists? Do you view yourself as a lead singer that plays guitar, or the guitarist that's also a lead singer? What comes first?
I guess I would have to consider myself a singer first and foremost. It's like on this body of music, at least, I'm playing guitar, I'm playing bass. I did all the drum tracks on these recordings. And so, one thing though, but in other projects I've done too, I've always worn multiple hats, and that's what I enjoy, actually, being able to chip in and find the right parts for the songs and play the drums if I have to, or play the bass, or play the guitar, sing just backups for, I don't care what I'm doing as long as I'm involved, that's one kind of fun thing about the Radiobot thing is, we're between Billy and Eddie and myself, we just kind of chip in and do whatever needs to get done. And play whatever parts that need to get played to get the songs finished. And, there's a few songs that we got coming out too that Billy's been singing lead on, which is awesome. And I hope that keeps happening. So we'll see.
Oh, very good.
Nice. Well, can you talk a little bit about your approach to songwriting? Do you approach, coming up with the melody or the lyrics first, or do you bang out the music and then try to write lyrics to it? How's it work for you?
Lyrics always come last.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah, for me, lyrics always come last for sure. And with Radiobot, it always starts with a Billy riff. And we just kind of, as those riffs are kind of transforming, and, he'll be in Nashville and we'll be like, record that and send it to us, so and then he'll send us a little 15-second snippet of something, and then we throw it in, and he'll keep throwing stuff at us that way. And we make the song into the arrangement, and as that's happening, I'm sitting there kind of humming to myself, looking for a melody, and I usually am pretty good at finding a melody pretty fast. And then as that's happening, a lot of times I'll find a little tagline, which ends up being the main line of the song, and then I end up just kind of taking it off of that line and figuring out what does that line mean, and then writing the story from it.
Oh, very good. I guess, this day and age of technology where bands, they don't have to be in a studio together to create music. Obviously, everybody's kind of drop boxing things these days. People are living on coast to coast in the same band. But for you, for the artist, where is your preference? Do you prefer getting into a studio the old-fashioned way and banging out the songs all together? Or do you not mind doing this independently and just kind of drop boxing and emailing these parts to each other? How does it work for you? What's your preference, I guess?
Honestly, I enjoy all of those. Yeah, it's fun to sit in a room and everybody's kind of just fleshing through things, and you're banging through it 50 times before you actually decide what you want, what you've got is right to record, and but there's other times too, like, I really enjoyed writing this Radiobot record because we would have an arrangement which would be just guitars, and then the guys would say, okay, take it home and see what you can do with it, Brett. So I'd go home with it and I'd set it up in my session, and maybe I'd lay a scratch bass track down on it or something, and then I would just sit in there and for a couple of days and just play through it on drums and kind of figure out where the song needs to go, and while all of this is happening, Billy and Eddie are at home wondering what I'm doing.
Right.
So once I finally get it to where I've got it where I feel good to show it to them, then I send it to them, and then they'll be like, wow, I didn't expect you to do that. And so it's a really cool, exciting thing for them too. It's kind of like each time we give it to each other, there's a little present inside because we don't know what the person did, and we don't know where it went. So it's been kind of fun to write the record that way.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So what's the plans next? You got this single out. You're going to drop a few more singles, or when do we expect the album?
We're just being as creative as we can, and we've got a ton of songs here. We've written, I think we have well over 20 songs now, and we're going to keep on writing, and we've got a new song called "This World's on Fire" that's coming out December 8th, and we just released the Bob Dylan song, So, and we've got I know 5 other songs that we're looking at to release here in 2024. So we're just going to keep trying to be as creative and artistic as possible, and make videos for other content, and put just not only the audio aspect of things, but we want to provide the video aspect and the visuals too, to kind of take you on a journey. So.
As Radiobot pushes forward with new music, how do you and the rest of the band members view this? Is this a project, or is this a long-term band? I guess, are you guys all on the same page, or what can we expect?
I think that the goal is to get the music heard and get a sense of awareness going, because we want to play some shows, and we want to get out and have some fun and put a band together, and one thing I always loved was how Steely Dan did it. Steely was they were a writing machine, and it's true, they didn't play a whole lot of shows, but they had a revolving door of incredible talent that was jumping in and writing and recording records with them, and inventing new songs together and stuff like that, which was really cool. And I'd love to see us be able to have some of our friends pop in and write some songs with us, and maybe do some tours with us, and get out and just have a lot of fun with the whole project. So.
Oh, very good.
Kind of a lead into my next question. What were the plans, or do you have plans for touring, or is that still in the works?
We do. Billy and myself are getting together soon, and because we've written this huge batch of songs, and neither one of us have ever actually sat down and tried to play them. There's a big difference in writing and recording music, but then you have to sit down and go, okay, now how would we do this live? So we've got to kind of sit down. You're literally sitting down and learning your own songs. So we're going to do that, and we've got a bunch of amazing and talented friends that we're looking at to do some live shows with us, and so the goal is by spring next year to get out and be able to do some shows. So.
Oh, very good. Well, in this era of the music industry is what it is, where album sales are just not what they ever are going to be again. But, for that being said, on a fiscal responsibility level, I guess, for a band like yourself with heritage musicians that have been around the business for a long time, is it more fiscally responsible to release singles at a time like we see a lot of artists do? Or do you and the rest of the band members still believe in the physical, tangible product of an album or an EP sometime down the road?
Well, for the level that Radiobot's in, throwing singles out is the way to go, because we kind of have to feed the market with like a bird, and just give them little pieces here and there. I can't throw out an entire double vinyl, just yet on Radiobot, or it'll just get wasted,
Right.
So now, if you're Taylor Swift or someone like that, then that's what you do. You throw out a big, huge batch, a full album, and everybody's going to buy it. So, and that's kind of what I prefer, actually, anyhow, because it's just, I'm a product of the 70s, and I grew up listening to full-length albums, and I still do it to this day. We have a record player in the house, turntable, and a big batch of vinyl records, and I've been teaching my kids, and we love listening to an entire record, not just a couple of singles, and so that's what the goal of all of this is for me, for sure.
Yeah, very good.
Eddie Wohl was part of that World Fire Brigade project, correct?
Yeah, Eddie and I did that with Sean Danielson.
I was just going to say, can you talk a little bit about how your working relationship has grown since those days?
Eddie and I have always really had an excellent working relationship in the studio. We never argue, we never fight over whose idea is better or where the song's going or anything like that. We've always really had a really positive and cohesive way of working in the studio together. So, I love that, and I know it's going to continue to be like that for the rest of our working relationships. So, good times.
Nice.
Speaking of Eddie, you got acquainted with Billy Harvey in 2016 in lieu of Eddie. Is that correct? How did you guys meet and get together as collaborating?
Yeah, Eddie brought us together. Billy and Eddie had worked on a few other things together over the years, so they already had a relationship, and so Eddie introduced us.
Oh, very good. Well, you touched upon video creativity as far as making videos for the new music that you guys are creating, and it seems like with MTV not being MTV anymore, videos are just not at the forefront of pop culture any longer. But can you talk a little bit more about your feelings of still the importance on creating music videos in this day and age in the music industry?
Well, it puts a face to the name, for sure, and to the voice, and one thing that you're not going to see me do is release some kind of stupid performance video where there's flashy lights and there's just the band that's performing and like pretending like you're on a stage kind of thing. I've done that before, in my previous band, and it's done. It's stupid for me, and I would much rather create content that has something for you to actually look at, something that's got some content to it, something that's a story. Like this next song that we're putting out, the song's called "This World's on Fire." We had an animated video made for the song, and Billy and Eddie and I sat down for a couple of days, and we just sat there for a few hours writing out the treatment for the video, and because we wanted to make sure that the story that we wanted to tell for the video was exactly right. And we found some animators in Israel, and they put the whole thing together for us and with their art, and it came out amazing, and we're going to put that out very soon, so I can't wait for you to see it.
Oh, excellent.
Me as a cartoon.
Yeah.
Very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, I guess what I want to know a little bit more, let's go back into the Wayback Time Machine. So before Fuel, 1998 Sunburn, that's where I was first introduced to Fuel. Where'd you come from before that? How'd you get interested in music, or as a career in music?
Well, I grew up in Tennessee, outside of Memphis. Small little town called Brownsville. It's all cotton fields and soybeans, and I grew up listening to Elvis Presley and Sleepy John Estes, who was this old bluesman from the town that I grew up in, and also I grew up where there's Tina Turner. Yeah, I grew up in the same town as me, and things like that. So music was everywhere in the rock and roll of Memphis and in the country of Nashville, and just the vibe of blues everywhere too, from the Mississippi blues and everything. So you were constantly surrounded by music where I grew up, which was very cool. Although at the same time too, it was the Bible Belt. So I was really sheltered in what music I was allowed to listen to. I couldn't listen to a Kiss record, and I actually owned a couple of Kiss records. I had Destroyer and Love Gun, and I loved those albums. But my mom was very religious, and she one day she came to me with a Michael Jackson Thriller cassette and Toto 4 on cassette, and I can't remember. There was one other record and she was like, "I'll trade you these 3 cassette tapes for your 2 Kiss records." So I was like, I wanted the cassette. So I was like, all right. So I traded with her, and then she took my Kiss albums and she hid them in her closet. And like a few days later, I went and found them and I stole them back. So I got Michael Jackson Thriller, Toto, and then one other record, and then I got my Kiss records back. So it's a big win.
That's a pretty good trade. Yeah. But let's fast forward.
She never asked me. She's like, "Where are the Kiss records?" She never came in and asked me, so I was like, just kept them, kept playing them.
Nice. Well, let's fast forward to 2006. You were in the supergroup Circus Diablo. The band released its one and only self-titled album in 2007. That album is a banger, by the way. Why didn't that band keep producing new music? It was such a killer album.
I'm about to see Billy Morrison in a few weeks too. We're doing a charity for a suicide awareness event in Canyon here, and I love Billy. Billy and I have gone back for oh my gosh, for well over 20 years. And that one thing too, that was Billy Morrison, and it was Matt Sorum, and it was Billy Duffy, and Ricky Warwick and myself. And one thing is, I think maybe the reason that didn't continue on with other things is because there was between the core group there were just guys with so much other things going on. It was like herding cats. So it was hard to get it to stay together because everybody was in so many other directions too. So it's hard to really get everybody to just focus in and say, okay, let's keep doing this. So it kind of dissipated quicker than it should have.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was so bummed out when I was like, okay, there's going to have to be a sophomore follow-up to this thing, and it never happened. I was waiting. I think I waited for like 4 years, all the way till 2011. Like, I guess it's not going to happen. So.
And, well, never say never. I'll have a little word with Mr. Morrison and see if he wants to rekindle that fire sometime.
Oh, that would be excellent. Jeff, you got the next one?
Let's see. You've also worked with Manzarek Krieger in the Doors of the 21st Century. Can you talk a little bit about how that all came together and your part in that project?
Yeah. Well, we just happened to have the same management at the time. So my manager called me one day and was like, man, I got a gig for you. It's right where you hit the ball. So I was like, great, let me know what to do. And so next thing I knew, I was living in New York at the time. So I hopped on a plane, flew out to L.A. for a few days, and sat in with jammed with Ray and Robbie, and we just hit it off and had a great time. And there's just such awesome people. And at the time, my wife and I were pregnant with our first child, and we didn't want to live in the city anymore. We needed a change, and we didn't want to raise our kids in the city because we had friends who had kids and lived in the city, and we're like, we don't want to freaking go in the with our strollers. We don't want to go in the subway and stuff like that, or taxi cabs, and just sound like a pain in the ass. So we were looking to get to LA, and Ray and Robbie gave me the gig with them, and it all, the stars aligned. It was just perfect timing for everything. So I came out here and started living in LA and seeing those guys every day and touring the world with them, and it was just a really good time, so to play that catalog. And I always say that we always walk in our parents' shoes when we were little kids. Do you guys do that when you were kids? You put your dad's shoes on, or your mom's shoes, or whatever. Well, it's the same way for that. It's like, I had the moment of an opportunity to see what Jim Morrison's shoes felt like. Yeah. To stand there in his spot and have Ray on my right side and Robbie on my left, and it was a great time. So
that'd be awesome.
Well, when it comes to that project, L.A. Woman is one of my all-time favorite tracks from any era of any band. What was it like taking on the daunting task of singing that track live?
The entire catalog was just very time-consuming when it came to learning it, because there was a lot of those songs are poetry, and there's right. and they were jazz. They were a jam band too. So, and from a live standpoint, you had to really keep an eye on each other just to know where you were and what was going to happen next and things like that. So I was on, but for the first couple of months of touring with those guys, I constantly had just sheets of paper spread out all over the stage with lyrics, because I couldn't remember everything, because there was, it was just so much, and we were doing over 2 hours shows, and so I had to remember 18 songs, and so I would slowly just peel songs away as I could absorb them in my head. Finally I got to the point to where I had no lyrics on the sheets or on the stage, and I remember the guys being like, dude, you had no lyrics tonight. And I was like, I know, it felt great. Finally freedom.
Oh, fantastic. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, we talked to a lot of artists who, are always writing, always, you've been in quite a few projects now. So do you have a vault or of hidden songs of Brett Scallions that waiting to be released someday?
I've got a few. Like you said, everybody who writes songs have the ones that boil up to the top, and they're the ones that make the records and stuff like that. And then there's the ones that just kind of didn't have the right thing to them. You don't know what it was, but it just wasn't right. So, but I've got a big batch of those songs, and sometimes, and there's actually been times that I've taken songs that were in that vault and didn't necessarily use the song, but I used the riff.
Okay.
I used a certain riff, or I used a certain lyric that I liked, or a certain melody, and I'll pull it out of there, and it just ends up being parts for another machine. You got a broken down pickup truck that's supplying your pickup truck that needs parts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're running out of our allotted time for the evening, but I have one last question for you, and then we'll leave you alone. So the mystery of rock and roll, the dawning of the internet and all the different social medias out there, there is no mystery anymore. For you, the artist and the fan, what do you prefer, this new age of accessibility? Because if we didn't have the internet, we wouldn't be doing this with you tonight. Or do you miss that era of mystery and mystique? Because there is no Kiss, there is no Zeppelin anymore. Everybody knows everything about everybody. So what do you prefer?
It's crazy because how are you guys? I'm 50,
about the same age as you, right behind you.
I'm about to be 52.
Yeah, me too.
So, for us growing up, we looked at Kiss and Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and all these bands and stuff, and they were like superheroes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you would look at them in a magazine and you'd be like, that person's not real. That's not a real person. That's just a person that's in my magazine. and that whole veil is gone now. Because people are so more accessible, like back in the day, you always heard stories of Johnny Cash sitting there for hours writing back his fan mail and stuff like that, which is amazing that he was doing that, but now it's just a matter of jumping on and sending a letter to somebody on their Facebook page,
Exactly.
You get a fast response. So
do you have a preference?
Well, I guess there's a love-hate for it all, I guess. If we could have that whole mystique back, that could be pretty cool. But at the same time, it's cool that, music fans literally can find whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're not, to be a music fan, you're not force-fed anymore. You're not clamped down to listening to just what's on the radio. Now you have so much in front of you, and it can be very mesmerizing and overwhelming, I'm sure, but for some people, but I mean, it's just so much content out there now, and it's so accessible, and you can literally find anything that you want to find. So that is a cool thing, I think. So
very good. As we're running out of a lot of time tonight, is there anything that we left off that you would like to plug or promote?
Radiobot's top on the list for me right now, for sure. I'm going to do some solo stuff next year too, though. Okay. So I'll be out. I'll go out and do the occasional shows of doing Fuel sets. Radiobot will not be playing any Fuel or anything like that, but Fuel is part of my history,
sure.
and I'm proud of what I've done with that, and I still have a large fan base that want to hear me do it, so I'll go out and play some Fuel songs for people from time to time too. So looking forward to that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, this is how things are going to work out. We're about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks behind on our episodes, but once Jeff, the editing wizard over here, gets this all cleaned up, we'll send it to your publicist immediately, and please have her share it wherever we possibly can. It'd be fantastic.
That'd be great. Thank you so much, guys.
Brett, thank you so much.
Definitely want to thank you for
coming guys.
On. Have a good one, man. Take care. We'll be in touch in about 3 weeks.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Come on, baby. Side by side, the road is clear, the point is bright, and
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.